Hey, this is Daniel Norton. I'm here in my studio in New York City with Erica.
Hi.
And today I want to talk a little bit about depth of field. There's been a lot of discussion about this. People ask me questions like why you set your depth of field at certain places. And I want to talk very specifically in this case about shooting kind of in a studio versus, let's say, location. But kind of the topics are, the reasons are kind of the same. It just varies slightly depending on where you are. And the main reason that you change your depth of field is clearly to get things less out of focus. If I'm shooting in a studio though, and I have a plain background, like in this case I had this gray background, I don't care if it's in or out of focus because it's a plain background, right? What I do care about if I'm making a portrait or a beauty shot is that Erica's in focus. So yeah, I can use autofocus and I can use a fast lens and get like just her eyes sharp, but if she's moving and I'm interacting with her, like I often do when I'm making a portrait, there's a chance we're gonna get more kind of out of focus pictures. If she moves really quickly, she might go out of the range. So giving myself a little bit of extra depth of field is gonna help. So I usually shoot somewhere around f8 when I'm in the studio. Another kind of bonus to that in this studio, because it's a daylight studio, is by shooting at f8, I can eliminate all the window light without too much trouble. We will actually use high-speed sync in a minute I'm going to give you both examples, but that's kind of the reasons why I start there in most cases. So let's take a shot like I normally would do. So I have my Photo here with the 3-foot Octa. This is a B1X. I've got the Nikon Z6 with the 85mm fixed to it. I do have an A1 on top of my camera. This is just being used as a transmitter. I'm not using it as a flash. So I'm at 200th of a second at f8. I'm in TTL, so I'm going to frame it up. Actually, I'm going to have you come slightly this way. You're good. There we go. Erica's good. Oh, I should point out there's a light in the background as well, if you guys probably see it over there. That light is giving her a slight hair light. So we come in here, and we can see at f8, nice crispy eyes. But if you look, her whole body is, her hair, everything is going to be nice and sharp, right? Nice, good depth there. And it looks good, This is kind of how I like to shoot. If she was moving around, so we can shoot a couple, or if I'm not exactly right, then we can always keep her in focus without too much worry, right? And because I'm eliminating the light and space, I don't have to worry too much about, any movement of her, right? Nice and easy, just like that. Okay, now, if we switch, so I'm gonna go to F2. Well, the first thing is if I just go to F2, and I'm in TTL, so actually, we'll see if the light goes down low enough. Without going into high-speed sync, we'll start there. So I'm at f2 at 200th of a second. Okay, so we can see right away a couple of things. We're picking up some light in the room, so we're getting the background lit up, which I guess is an advantage if you want that. And you can actually see already that I missed focus slightly at f2. I'm sure it's focused somewhere. Yeah, there it is. So let's try again. That was probably more me than anything else. Here we go. So we're here. Now she's sharp on her eye. But you see how quickly it falls off. Now, if you like this look, more power to you, right? But the problem is, as you saw in that very first frame that I shot, is if she even moves a hair or you move a little bit with the camera after you focus, it's going to be out of focus. So I don't like typically to do this unless I have to. Now, what I would do, though, because I want control, right, is I do have something called high-speed sync, so we'll talk about that very briefly. What that essentially does is allows the flash to shoot above the normal sync speed. So if I do a little math, somewhere around 2,000th of a second will put us back where we were, like math-wise. So 2,000th of a second at f2 is going to get the background dark again with only our light affecting it. So we're not going to have any chance of any motion blur. And again, she's sharp, but it falls off really quickly at f2. So let's shoot a couple like this. This can be really nice, like I said, but probably more for opposed slower movements. So we're always sure she's in focus, a little slower of the shoot. Maybe look like a more practiced model, that kind of stuff. That'll work really nice for you, right? And you can certainly do that. Take a look here again. We're able to do it because she was moving slower, and Erica, of course, she's done this before a couple times. Okay, but why would I shoot at f2 without, forget about the rest of it, if there was something in the background that I didn't want to be in focus? So I actually have back here, surprisingly, almost like we planned it, I have back here behind the paper, I've got some lighting equipment. So let's start off where we did before. We're going to go to f8. At 200th of a second. And we're going to make a similar shot. Now I've got the lighting in the background. Now a couple things are going to happen here. Number one, it's kind of dark back there and muddy and doesn't look that good, right? And number two, they're kind of sharp, right? Not super sharp, but they're very sharp. Like we can kind of see what's back there. To me, that's super distracting, right? So here's where we want to use our depth of field. But now I'm not going to worry too much about high-speed sync yet anyways. I'm going to just dial down to f2. This is going to allow me to let some of the light from the windows bleed in, and it's going to allow me to knock this cleanly out of focus. Right? Now, this looks a lot better because they're not these big solid blocks behind her head. Right? And we can compose. Now, if you wanted them to be lit differently, clearly you could throw a light on them, but for our purposes, we'll just do this. And I think I might actually shoot horizontal for this. Good. And come in nice and close. And in fact, I even have that light stand in the shot. So I'm going to actually change my composition slightly to go over here. There we go. Right. And again, I'm still in TTL. This is actually one of the great things about TTL is we can change things up really nicely and quickly and not have to worry too much about. There we go. Double tap. About it, you know. Good. Nice and simple, you know, and that's kind of an extreme case, but you can see why you'd want to use a wide open aperture versus a closed down one, right? Wide open aperture is going to give us, so it's going to give us you know, the shallow depth of field. So if there's stuff in the background we don't want to see, we want to knock it out. It could be you're on the street and there's people back there you don't want to see. It could be, you know, anything. In this case, it could be some art on the wall or something weird you don't want to see. You just want to make color shape of it, make it really interesting. Other times you're going to be someplace where you want that stuff in focus. Maybe you're doing a landscape and you want the whole landscape in focus, or you're at some, you know, historic site and you want everything in focus, or whatever. There's different reasons to do it. Think about that. Don't just say, hey, I bought a fast lens, I'm just going to shoot wide open all the time, because that's not always the best solution. So I will put Erica's information in the description. You guys can follow her. Be sure to follow me, Daniel Norton Photographer. Subscribe to Adorama TV. Ring the bell and all that. And I'll see you next time on set.